I'm Carl. Welcome to House and Garden Hacks. Well, today I'm going to help a friend of mine replace a toilet, and I'll show you how easy it is to do. Push it in place, and I want this sticking up. You can see that how high this is compared to how flat the old one was. As I put the toilet on, that will of course flatten out, which is exactly what I want. Make sure that's centered. Ready to put the new toilet in. So I have the ring on. By the way, I changed gloves again because some of that wax gets on the gloves and I don't want to smear it all about. Now there's actually two ways to do this wax ring. One is, as I showed you, I put it here. Another is to put it on the base of the toilet itself. The reason why I chose to put it here is so that before I go to install, I don't want to be trying to maneuver that on there. I want to confirm that I have the clearance in the back for where, so that when I put this on the wax ring, that it's going to line up okay and I don't have a problem. I see that it does. I'm good for the next step, and that's simply lining those bolts up. Notice I didn't put everything on the toilet before I did it, so it just makes it easier to maneuver. Great. I can feel that it's in the right position. Now I'm going to apply some pressure so that the toilet base sits well, evenly and fully flush on the bottom. Now I'm going to make sure that the toilet is level, both sideways and forward and back, in case I want to or can make any adjustments. It's a little bit high on the right side here, and it's a little bit high on the front, so I can choose to use some shims to do that, or if I'm comfortable with the way that this sits, it might not be noticeable when I'm sitting on it. But I'm going to use some shims. Need to make sure I put those in the front and the back, otherwise it'll rock on it. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, gosh, that's perfect. All right, now I'm going to put the nuts back on, and a common mistake that happens is actually putting the washer and the nut straight on that. It's a mistake I've made a few times. We want to make sure we put the plastic on first, and then put the nut on top of that. I'll finger tight it on the left side, put the plastic on again. The washer, the nut, finger tight. Now I can use the wrench, and I want to be careful with the wrench so that I don't over tighten and break the base. So I'll alternate back and forth just to make sure that I'm applying even pressure to both sides. Oh, perfect. Check to make sure. Oh, that's nice and solid. That's what I want. I don't want any play when I'm sitting on the toilet. And I want to check for level. Make sure when I undid that it didn't mess up my level. It did not. And snap, it goes on. Ah, did right. Last thing is to pull up break off the shims. Just pushing those in a little bit so that I don't have the sides of the shims sticking out when I go to caulk. I also use a knife. To carefully do it, I don't want to go into the flooring, but I do want the edges out. So right before I do this next part, I have found that it's real handy to make sure I have all the parts in place. They're all sitting here ready for me to go, a little bit out of range here, video range. And just to look over the instructions again, just to make sure. You know, I've done this many times, but it's been a long time since I've done it, so I want to make sure I'm following the steps as laid out by the manufacturer. And yeah, good to go. So the value of reading the instructions is sometimes these tanks are a little bit different from other ones, and this certainly is a departure from what I've seen in the past. Usually there's two nuts that come through the tank, and then there's rubber gaskets on the inside. And what I like about what they did with this one is that there's actually a frame, don't know what else to call it, that allows you to mount these on the outside. So there are two fewer holes going through the tank, two fewer places for possibility of leak. So I'll put the gasket on here, make sure that fits nicely. Put these on. And so as before, I'm going to start on one side with the washer, the nut. So I have the left side on and the right side on, and I'll push down on the top here to get it a little bit tighter. Notice I'm taking my time with this, and the reason is I want to make sure it's snug. I don't want to leak under here, and I don't want to break the porcelain, so I'm not in a hurry. So I have the back on, or the tank. Now I'm going to attach the water supply. Some of these connections don't require the Teflon tape, but I always like to put some on there just to be careful, just to be overly cautious. When I'm tightening this, I can do this by hand, but I want to again make sure that it's firm, not overly tight, but tight enough I don't have a leak. So I'm going to keep going until my hands won't tighten it anymore. Oh, that's good. This is going to be the best opportunity I have for making sure that I don't have a leak down at the valve itself and then up at the tank. So I have a nice clear view of it. That's the reason why I don't put all this on. Correct. The water's filled up. I want to make sure it's at the correct level. I flush. So I'm going to put the little bumpers on the base of the toilet seat itself. Go ahead and put the tank lid on. I'll line up my bolts from on top. Now this is at an angle because this is I guess it's called a slow drop or whatever. This will slowly come down. On its own. There we go. That'll make this easier. Make sure it's nice and straight before I do the final tightening. And I have shown my neighbor where this tightens up, because every once in a while the toilet seat likes to loosen up after years of use, and it's easy enough to just get under here, put a screwdriver up here, hold it at the base. I found that's the easiest rather than trying to turn the wing nut. Put the cap on, the cap for the nuts on, and there we go. Now for the very last part. I have the toilet fully assembled. I'm going to put some silicone around the base of this, and I just cut the top off there, and I'm going to use an absolute necessary tool called a coat hanger, and I always have this in my tool bucket. And by the way, I always make sure that it's white. I'm about to replace this one, and the reason is so that I can see it in my tool bucket and I don't accidentally stab myself, which is also why I have it bent over. Notice I have a glove on again, another clean one. Now, here's the secret to doing the caulk. A lot of people don't realize. In fact, when I took this toilet up, the caulk, silicone caulk, was all the way around the base. In fact, what plumbers have discovered is that you want to leave the back open. And the reason for that is if it does leak, the water has a place to go to let you know that it's leaking. If it's caulked all the way around, then the water will simply stay in there and build up and rot out the floor. So, a real key tip is just leaving the back open. No one will see it. And this is why the glove. I just like to have that caulk be nice and smooth all the way around. Well, the toilet replacement is complete. I want to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you found this useful. Have a good day.